Hello students, welcome to our first video of class 8 history, our past 3, chapter 1, how, when and where. You have already read about the ancient and medieval period of Indian history. This book deals with the modern period of Indian history. It throws light on the life of the people along with military and political events, the developments in the Indian society, the education system, the impact of technology and social reforms, art and architecture of our country. So let us start with the name of the chapter, that is how, when and where. So if you look at the three words, we can say that they are associated with history or any past event. For example, how did that happen? When did that happen? Where it happened? Of course, grammatically, we can also use it for future events. But since we are reading history, here we will stick to the past events. Can you tell me one thing which makes history boring? Yes, dates. The first topic of our chapter is how important are dates. When we see history, we find a lot of dates. And this is the reason what makes history boring. Because remembering dates is boring, isn't it? Previously, history was all about when, that is dates. But now we are trying to connect with how and where as well. Well, let me tell you, history is much more than dates. Actually, it's a comparison of past and present. What happened versus what it is now. When we are curious enough to do that comparison, only then we will start finding history interesting. For example, when you drink tea, you could ask a question, when did people start drinking tea? How did tea plantations start in India? Reading the newspapers in the morning, you may be curious to know how people got to hear about things before newspapers began to be printed. There are two sets of questions, the how part is explanation and the when part is the date we are asking for. So history is associated with dates, which makes the comparison easier. However, that there can be no one clear date for any event to occur since we do not have any solid historical proof to determine the actual time. Therefore, we have to rely on approximate period over which particular changes became visible. For example, we cannot fix one particular date when India was occupied by the British. We know that East India Company came to India in the year 1608. The Battle of Plassey was fought in the year 1757. But can we say that the rule of East India Company or the British rule started in 1608 or 1757 or after the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857? So we cannot fix one date when British rule started. We have to depend on an approximate period. Our next topic is which dates, by what criteria we choose a set of dates as important. First of all, we need to understand that not all the historical dates are important. The ones that are important is purely due to the events that occurred during that time. Let us take an example. August 15, 1947. I hope so that you all are familiar with this date. 1947 का कोई मतलब नहीं बनता अगर हम उसे भारत की आजादी के साथ जोड़ के नहीं देखते. अगर हम अमेरिका के इंडिपेंडेंस की बात करें तो 1947 का कोई मतलब नहीं रह जाता और 1776 का इम्पोर्टेंस आ जाता. Because our focus of study has changed. But remember, we are talking about independence, but of two different nations. So dates become important because of the events. Again, if the focus of our study changes, if we begin to look at new issues, a new set of dates will start appearing significant. For example, if you talk about when men started flying or of flying machines, and another set of new dates will become important for us. Most of the histories of India were written by British historians because they were the rulers and they were highly educated. These historians began their writing with the rule of first Governor General Lord Warren Hastings and ended with the last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten. Most of the contents that the British historians wrote were about the Governor Generals, about their achievements, activities, policies, etc. It was as if there was nothing else important apart from their personalities. But we now know that we can write history in different ways. For example, different groups and classes of people in Indian society during the reign of so and so Governor Generals. Now, whenever we write history or any story, we divide it into chapters so that it is easy to cover each topic in details. Your class 8 history book has also been divided into different chapters, for example, how, when and where, from trade to territory, and many other chapters. It is easy to cover each topic in details and it makes sense and can be followed in forming the big picture. Most of the time in a story, the events occur around a particular character. This is a problem because in the histories written by British historians, most of the content is around the lives of governor generals, their duties, their lavish livings, their achievements, and the lives of the common Indians do not simply fit with it. They have no space in it. Hence, we need another format of history where all the events are related to India. This should mean that old dates will no longer have the importance that they earlier had. A new set of dates will become more important for us to know. Just like we read in the beginning, if we give importance to any particular event, automatically the importance of dates also changes. Here you can see if we talk about Indian freedom struggle, we can talk about the revolt of 1857. 1857 becomes important here. Non-cooperation movement, which is also associated with the freedom struggle of India. 1920 becomes important here. Civil disobedience movement. 1930 becomes important here. Quit India movement. 1942 becomes important. And independence of India. So 1947 becomes important for us. Let us rewind what we have learned. History is the description of the people, places, and events of the past written chronologically. Dates are important for the systematic and chronological study of history. However, it is difficult to tell the definite date of some important events. For example, when did British rule start in India? In the histories written by British historians, most of the content is around the lives of governor generals. Let us see what you have grasped today. Your first question, Dash was the last Viceroy of India. And their options are A. Lord Mountbatten, B. Lord Warren Hastings, C. James Mill, or D. Lord Canning. And the correct option is A. Lord Mountbatten. Your second question is, from the below mentioned events, identify the one for which specific dates cannot be determined. And their options are A. The year a king was crowned, B. The year a king got married, C. The year the people started drinking tea, or D. The year a king died. And the correct answer is C. The year when people started drinking tea. Your third question is, Dash was the first Governor General of British India, and their options are A. Lord Mountbatten, B. Lord Warren Hastings, C. Lord Canning, or D. James Mill. And the correct answer is B. Lord Warren Hastings. It's practice time for you, and here are some questions for you. The first question is, who was asked by Robert Clive to produce maps of Hindustan? And the options are A. Daniel, B. James Rennell, C. James Mill, or D. William C. Duran. List out 3 events for which specific dates can be given and 3 for which specific dates cannot be given. In our next video, we will be discussing about how do we periodize history and what is colonial. Till then, take care of yourself, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.